It's not often, if ever, we've gone, that was a good Russian Grand Prix, wasn't it? And since it arrived on the calendar in 2014, it's tended to produce races that are the sort you just whack on for some background noise and only look up from whatever you're looking at on your phone if it kicks off. And the race has produced some moments, it has to be said, like Rosberg locking up bigly into Turn 2 in 2014, Raikkonen yeeting Bottas off in 2015, and Vettel being speared into the Turn 3 wall in 2016. That's been pretty much it, really. There's been the odd smash, that lock-up, and that lock-up happened just a week after Bianchi's fatal accident, so yeah, Sochi's not really been one for the record books in terms of carnage or excitement. Well, I mean, you do have Bottas' first win where he held off Vettel for that length of time. That was pretty good. But the point remains, it's never produced anything really, truly spectacular, and with the qualifying results shook up a little bit thanks to the wet stuff falling from the sky, we saw a top 4 that had people asking if it was 1997 again. You had McLaren, Ferrari and Williams on the top 3. And you had a Tyrrell in 4th. Tyrrell, BAR, Honda, Brawn, Mercedes. That's the lineage of that Mercedes team. You know, it's mental when you think about it because Aston Martin was once Jordan. And with Verstappen starting from the back, we also had quite the recipe for a decent race. Because you had the 3 drivers in the 3 front slots on the grid chasing their first ever Grand Prix win. Meanwhile, you've got the guy in 4th chasing his 100th. And it was a cracking start to watch in general. Sainz made a poor getaway, but as turn 1 isn't really a turn, he was able to slipstream in behind Norris, and then you had Hamilton, Ricciardo, Stroll and Alonso all in behind. And despite the lock-up into turn 2, almost like Rosberg in 2014, Sainz managed to get the lead off Norris. And on the helicopter shot, you could see Lewis backing out slightly in behind the McLaren, and that allowed Alonso, Stroll and Ricciardo to get past him, so Lewis was dumped down to 7th by turn 2. And further back you had Max and Bottas trying to carve their way through the field, and Bottas barely put up a fight as Max went on by on lap 6. Just open the door for him. It's just like, no, after you. He had one job. And when I say he had one job, I'm talking from the point of view of the Mercedes team here. Elsewhere, there was a fantastic battle between Leclerc and Vettel, the old teammates going at it again, and there was some cracking driving, side-by-side, switchbacks and all that stuff, trading positions for like half a lap or something like that. It's the sort of thing that people hope will happen more often with the new regulations, but I'm still maintaining the wait-and-see approach on that. Ricciardo then had a dodgy pit stop, which seems expected for McLaren this season, and that put to bed any dreams of the second successive McLaren 1-2 in as many races. There was a slightly iffy stop for Verstappen as well, and that lost him time in catching up to Hamilton, and they were on opposite tyres at that point. They both pitted on the same lap, so the Red Bull should in theory have had the pace over the Mercedes. This meant that Hamilton was able to gap the Red Bull because Verstappen was stuck in traffic while Hamilton had a cleaner run. It then got worse for Max as Alonso's Alpine was able to overtake him, although Alonso was on 10 lap fresher rubber at that point. But up front, Lando was leading the race and had genuine pace and was up there on merit. He'd overtaken Sainz on track and was comfortable in the lead, but Hamilton's Mercedes was chipping away at that gap. The gap was around 10 seconds or something like that, and like I say, Hamilton chipped away, but whenever Hamilton was on the edge of getting DRS, the McLaren seemed to have better traction out of that final corner, so instead of getting the DRS detection, that 1 second gap that you have to have, Hamilton was like 1.001 behind or something stupid like that, and he was just ever so slightly out of it, so Norris was keeping this driver in this car behind him on merit. Fair play to him. And then it started to spit with rain and everything was thrown into disarray. It was proper edge of the seat stuff. Even listening on the radio, it was edge of the seat stuff, and you can't see anything on the radio. Yeah, I'm a weird one. I've listened to sport on the radio since I was about this big. It was like Spa 2008 with the rain coming right at the end of that race as well, and some drivers staying on the slicks, well, what passed for slicks in those days with the grooves, and others pitting for intermediates or wets. Hamilton and Norris were 2 of the drivers that tried to stay out. Norris kept the lead while Hamilton started to get much, much closer. The gap was just over a second before it started to rain, but now Hamilton was about 3/10 behind Norris because he made a slight mistake. Meanwhile, further back, Vettel had a clang with his teammate Lance Stroll, which was funny to watch on Channel 4 later on because you got Mark Webber and David Coulthard throwing jabs at each other, knowing that neither one of them had a leg to stand on because they'd both hit their own teammates. Then there was a radio message to Lando saying, "What do you think to the Inter?" And Lando said, no. Mere seconds after that radio message was broadcast over the TV, Hamilton headed for the pit lane. And it shows just how much of a gamble all of this is. Lando said no to the intermediates, and Hamilton had also said, it stopped raining, what's the point? But Mercedes had gone, no, there's more rain coming, and Hamilton pitted. For Mercedes, it was the right call. For McLaren and for Lando, it wasn't. A similar thing happened in the BTCC at Thruxton last year. It had rained just before the start of the race, so some drivers took wets and some stayed on the dries, and at the start the wet tyre obviously had the advantage. But then the track dried out, meaning it swapped. The dries now had the pace compared to the wets. But unfortunately for those guys who were still on the dries, the rain came harder and longer than it had done before, so those on the wets had their advantage back, and those on the slicks either had to pit for tyres, which takes forever in that series because pit stops aren't really a thing, or just stay out on the dries and just hope that they hold on. But not long after Hamilton left the pit lane, more rain came, so Norris was now totally screwed. The gap went from something like 14 seconds to nothing in the space of a few corners, and then Lando spun that really put the nail in the coffin of his first win dreams. I guess for Lando it was like Olivier Panis at Monaco in 1996, and he said this to his engineer over the radio. If you win, you look like heroes. If you don't, you're going to look stupid, or people are going to say hard luck. Yeah, it depends on who the driver is, really. When Lando had said no to the intermediates, it had stopped raining, and the 7-time champion who was chasing him had also been hesitant to pit for the same reason. And on social media after the race, people were saying hard luck to Lando, he deserved it, while others said no, he turned down the wet tyres, he's an idiot, or words to that effect. So I conducted a small poll on my community tab, asking whether it was Lando's fault, the team getting it wrong with more rain coming, it taking 2 to tango, or just the luck of the draw. 31% of you said it was Lando's fault, if you can call it that. 7% said it was on the team not reading the weather correctly, while nearly half of you said it took 2 to tango. Mercedes made a firm call with Hamilton. McLaren asked the opinion of the driver. But saying that, one of them could still have been wrong. It could have easily gone the other way. And now, almost 24 hours after the race at the time of this recording, we have all the hindsight in the world. But having said that, Karun Chandhok tweeted this morning that on lap 47, the rain started, and Bottas, Russell and Raikkonen all pitted. On the following lap, Norris did a 54.6 and Lewis did a 55.7, which was around 15 seconds off the dry weather pace. Bottas on his out lap was 8 seconds faster than Lando. So what Mercedes did was also use Bottas as a guinea pig for the conditions, as well as noticing more rain was coming, despite Lewis saying it stopped, there's no point. But going back to the Panis thing, if Lando had pulled that off and survived, he would have looked like a god, and some F1 YouTubers would have ripped their penises right off. I still need to get mine reattached after Russell's podium at Spa, but that's NHS waiting list for you. I am also glad that he only got a reprimand for the way he entered the pit lane. In those conditions, it's a wonder he stopped at all. And seeing how bad it was for him on those slicks makes you realise that Glock wasn't messing about. Slicks in the wet do not work. And going back to Max being held up and all of that, the rain actually helped him in the end. He pitted at exactly the right time and managed to get up into second. And if the rain hadn't been there, he would have finished, 7th or something and really been screwed over in the points. Which then gets me thinking, that car, that driver, should have been further up before the rain. So what happened? I know he was saying something about the battery deploying incorrectly, but if you can shed some light on all of this, I'd welcome it, down in the comments. So Hamilton won the race and set quite the precedent. 100 wins. Best car or not, more races per season or not, that's mind-blowing considering how everybody said 91 race wins would not be beaten. It also makes you wonder how long those 100 race win graphics have been sitting gathering dust on people's hard drives, because he's taken his time with it, hasn't he? But then you get thinking, if he hadn't fluffed up the magic switch in Baku, his 100th win would have come at Silverstone, and that would have been one hell of a party. And on Twitter I put up another poll asking if people ever thought that after win number 91 for the Michael, would 3 figures ever be possible? 67% of you said no. 22% said yes, while 11% of you said yes, but another driver. General consensus is a lot of people seem to have thought it would have been Vettel that would have taken over the Michaels records instead. As it is, that 3-figure tally has gone to the guy from a council estate in Stevenage. It's almost like something made up by a Hollywood writer, isn't it? Slumdog Millionaire on 4 wheels. And you know, love him or hate him, it's history. Although, what the hell was that shirt they made up to commemorate it? People outside of the UK probably won't get this reference, but do any of you watching in the UK remember the show Dream Team? Dream Team was basically a soap opera set around a football club. That shirt they made for the 100th win looks like something they'd wear in a modern reboot of that show. But, you know, I thought I'd gloss over the whole ton up thing because you're not allowed to say anything nice about Lewis. At least that's how it feels anyway. So the big question for you all now is, who beats that record? Max? George? Some kid currently in Formula 4? Mick? If Mick beat Lewis's win tally, that would be an even better movie plot. You know, I will avenge you, father. But all that said, Lando's day will come. Yesterday he had genuine pace, and if McLaren build a good car next year, then we might see him and George in the fight, along with Max and Lewis, assuming all the regulations go the way we want them to. He took a gamble, and he lost, and all the top drivers have done that at some point, haven't they? He'll learn, and we might even see him on the top step by the season's end. We've seen one McLaren win, so what's not to say that the other one will as well? So then, a look back at the 2021 Russian Grand Prix. Leave any and all thoughts down in the comments section and get a discussion going, because it is, after all, why this series exists. And while scrolling down, why not like the video so I know I've done a decent job, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and get that bell on so you never miss out on a future video. I mean, I said please. And also a big thanks to the people of Patreon that continue to support the channel, and if you do want to join them or just join the Sim Racing Cafe that is my Discord, seriously, that's what it's called because that's what this channel used to be about, you can find all the links to Patreon, to Discord, and my social media tags and stuff like that down in the description box as well. So with that, I've taken up far too much of your time, so until next time, I've been Aidan, have a great day wherever you live in the world, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.